The Indianapolis Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson is coming under fire for tapping out in the middle of the game against the Houston Texans. Could this guy be benched soon for the veteran Joe Flacco? There's a big comment by the head coach Shane Steichen that may lead you to think that it's happening soon. We're going to break down this controversy. As you can see here in the third quarter, this was a huge moment. Everybody's talking about it. We're going to get into some of the media reaction to this. People are flaming Anthony Richardson, whether it be fair or unfair. You be the judge. 2:55 left in the third quarter. Anthony Richardson is not playing in this game.
His second sack, and Richardson's out of the game. So Richardson shaken up. He sits out. Joe Flacco comes in on 3rd and goal.
Now, this is a very interesting situation. You really never see this happen. You had tons of analysts talking about the fact that they have never seen a starting quarterback take themselves out of a game. Why did Richardson take himself out of the game out of nowhere on a critical third down in the third quarter? Well, he answered this himself, saying that he was just a little tired.
Man, tired. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot of running right there that I did, and I don't think I was gonna be able to go that next play. So I just, just told saying I just needed a break right there.
He needed a break right there. He needed a little water break. Now, granted, Anthony Richardson is a mobile style of quarterback. We know he was very athletic coming out of the draft, but did not have that much experience with the Florida Gators. And look, this guy missed pretty much the entire season last year dealing with an AC joint sprain. So this is pretty much his rookie year. You would think that he'd want to prove himself, but being selected very high with a top 5 pick, he's pretty much solidified with the Indianapolis Colts. But that did not stop ESPN ripping into him for tapping out and taking a break because he was tired in the middle of the game. You had Woody going off.
You need to get your conditioning up. I don't know what, I can't even wrap my mind around the fact that you're asking out of a game. You must be grossly out of shape or something else must be going on, but I don't have the luxury as offensive lineman to tap my helmet to get out of the game. What the hell was that?
Now, I do understand the irony of two men here who are definitely super out of shape talking about the fact that Anthony Richardson is out of shape and needs to get his conditioning up. But you got former head coach Rex Ryan of the New York Jets and Woody, a former offensive lineman, and they're going to rip into this guy. They're going to rip into this guy, and that's what the media does. They're going to take any opportunity to put you down as a player, especially when you make a big mistake like this. But it was not only these guys ripping into Anthony Richardson about this. This is something that is being recognized by the team as a negative. You may think, hey, maybe in their own organization, because Anthony Richardson scrambles with the football, maybe they're cool with him taking breaks. We're going to get into what the starting center had to say in just a second. But just for those of you who didn't get to see the play, I mean, he was to try to be a little charitable. He was scrambling, pump fake, ended up breaking a tackle here. And look, this guy's moving. We know he has some pretty extra weight and decent speed there. And he was moving and he had to scramble most of the game. And part of the reason why I think this is such a big deal is not because he really tapped himself out of the game. Anthony Richardson is sort of desperate where he has to use his legs. I think the big issue here is the fact that he played horribly in this game. Look, if he was out there with a great completion percentage, putting up some decent numbers, then I don't think any of these analysts would have too big of an issue with this. But I think the fact that at halftime, he was 2 of 15. This guy was 2 of 15 at halftime. For some reason, Anthony Richardson has this, and you've seen it throughout the entire season, where he will complete a long bomb. If it's a wide open long bomb to Alec Pierce or Josh Downs, any of his wide receivers, he gets that. But when it comes to just regular routine passes, Anthony Richardson has struggled so far in basically his rookie year. Now, in addition to that scramble where he tapped himself out, we talked about that at the top of the video. There are also some other plays that I just feel like he had lackluster energy. This was earlier on in the third quarter, way before he tapped himself out. But you just see him, like, after he's getting tackled, he sort of just lays there for a while. I don't know if he's sort of making a joke, getting helped out by offensive linemen, but it's sort of like a sluggish sort of attitude, almost kind of exasperated by the experience of being an NFL quarterback. And by the way, this is not just bad passing when it comes to at the half, like we mentioned, showing his stats in comparison to CJ Stroud. This guy has the lowest completion percentage in a season among qualified quarterbacks over the last 20 years. This guy is completing less passes at a percentage rate than freaking Jamarcus Russell. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than the Raiders' all-time draft bust Jamarcus Russell, and Anthony Richardson is throwing at a worse rate. Now, I will say Anthony Richardson is much better at scrambling than Jamarcus Russell, but you never want to be associated with that name. So Ryan Kelly, the center of the Colts, was asked about this tap out by Anthony Richardson, and I think what he said shows that this is not good for the locker room, man.
I think, we had a conversation about it, and, I think he knows it's not the standard that, that he needs to play up to and the rest of the team holds him to. And I'll kind of leave the conversation that we had at that. But, I'm sure he's going to take some criticism for that. It's just rightfully so, right? I mean, it's a tough look, but I'm also, he's out there giving it all for his team, right? And it's not always pretty sometimes, an offensive lull the last couple of weeks, just having a hard time getting going at times. I thought we did some good things in the game, but if anybody ever questions how hard he plays, I don't think that that's the case. I mean, if you watch his film, surely, we didn't move the ball effectively at times, but, I mean, he's giving it everything for his teammates. So he's young. I'm sure it's a learning moment for him. And leave it at that.
So you see the excuses towards the end and sort of the compliments towards the end, saying that Anthony Richardson's a tough player. He plays hard. He gives maximum effort. But what did he say in the very beginning? If you guys paid close attention, in the very beginning, he said we had to talk about that, and that's not what we're supposed to do.
I think we had a conversation about it, and I think he knows it's not the standard that.
It's not the standard. So already admitting off the top that was a mistake. That is something that the Colts organization is not cool with. That is something that the other players on the team are not cool with. They don't want to see Joe Flacco come in and give yourself a breather. And when Anthony Richardson answered the question talking about this, he was sort of acting like it was okay, almost like he had approval from the head coach. It was a normal routine. I just told Shane I needed a break right there. I just needed a break right there.
I was saying I just needed a break right there.
And he was acting like it was cool, nothing, no big deal. But then when you hear Ryan Kelly, sounds like it's something that's not allowed, sounds like it's something that should not happen, regardless if you did a great scramble, which, look, give him some credit. He did do a good scramble there. But I think this is going completely downhill for Anthony Richardson. I cannot imagine a scenario where he finishes every game this year. Not only was this guy dealing with injury issues earlier on in the year, but we've seen Joe Flacco come in and look good. And now you have the Colts head coach, Shane Steichen, this morning, literally 15 minutes before I pressed record on this video, telling reporters on whether Anthony Richardson will start Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings. We're evaluating everything. You never want to hear that if you're Anthony Richardson. Head coaches usually nip it in the bud if they're committed to a guy. If this guy, Anthony Richardson, is your franchise quarterback, you're going to say, of course, my franchise quarterback is going to start in this upcoming game on Sunday. That's what you would say. But instead, we have Shane Steichen, who, to his credit, made some stuff work with Gardner Minshew last year. Gardner Minshew having a bad year with the Raiders, but it just showed that if a guy who knows Shane Steichen, Minshew, had some time together with the Philadelphia Eagles, they carried that over to the Indianapolis Colts last year. And Steichen sort of proved last year that if he has a guy who's maybe not the most athletically gifted QB, but knows his system, they could do well. And they were one game away from beating out the Houston Texans and making the playoffs last year. And this year, to give Anthony Richardson a little bit of credit, early on in week one, they went toe-to-toe with the Houston Texans and could have maybe picked up a victory there. But Shane Steichen has to be looking at this offensive production over the past few weeks and thinking, wow, with Minshew, with Joe Flacco, I was able to have more consistent production than with Anthony Richardson. We'll go and show the numbers in just a second, but you have some people still defending Anthony Richardson here. You have this guy, he's a big time Colts fan, it looks like, and he was claiming, and I will admit, I did not go through all of this video, but this guy is claiming that out of all of Anthony Richardson's bad numbers that we're about to show you, a lot of it was on the wide receivers, claiming that he was pressured 6 times, claiming that it hit the wide receivers in the hands. And this guy counts it all up and claims this is the case. And look, the Colts still had a shot to win this game regardless of all this. But I still think it all goes back to the fact that Anthony Richardson was always grossly inexperienced coming out of the Florida Gators, didn't play many games, and maybe he will be pushed into rapping. You got people memeing this guy up already. You can't complete 50% of your passes. You might as well start rapping. And here comes Anthony Richardson here, definitely busting out a track.
They turn it up, yeah, I'm on go mode. Never turn my back on my brother, yeah, that's the bro code. Cruising in my whip, like a nigga going slow-mo.
Yo, his voice is, he's got that deep voice down. If he does want to pursue rapping, I think he'll be a lot more successful than some other people in the NFL. Like Darren Waller. But Anthony Richardson, man, take a look at the numbers of 2024. So we mentioned in 2023, the guy did not play much, had that AC joint sprain, pretty much foregoed his entire rookie season. And this year, 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, had that injury in early October, and it just has not been flashy numbers. 31% completion percentage, 41% against Miami. His best out in completion percentage was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's because he only threw 4 passes. So of course that's going to be good. This guy has not even had a completion percentage above 50% as an NFL QB. That is just not okay. I'm sorry. I mean, you can't be a starting quarterback in the NFL if you're completing passes at that horrible of a rate. And we saw Gardner Minshew. We saw Joe Flacco come in. Joe Flacco's numbers here. Joe Flacco, when he did fill in against the Jacksonville Jaguars, you saw them put up 359 yards, 75 completion percentage. Not too hot against the Tennessee Titans, only a 57% completion percentage, but nonetheless, they got the victory. And I think that has to make Shane Steichen think, you know what? Maybe we just got to let this guy get some more NFL experience first. I will say, to give Anthony Richardson a little bit more credit, and we've been mentioning this, he does run the football, 242 yards on the year running the football, averaging about what? Probably 40 yards a game there. So you got to give the guy a little bit of credit. But I still think the fact that this is a huge story, the fact that he kind of didn't really apologize for it after the game, that shows a fracture in leadership. That's going to have the rest of your teammates really not too stoked to run through a wall for you. I mean, how can another offensive lineman go balls to the wall, no breaks, fighting their ass off to block for Anthony Richardson, when this guy gets tired on a 3rd and goal, he's liable to take a break and freaking chill. That is just not cool. And that is why you have this being a massive story. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Will Anthony Richardson start this Sunday? It looks like, according to Shane Steichen, it's up in the air. And you know what? I would not blame him, considering the fact that the guy has a completion percentage like freaking Jamarcus Russell. My name is Wi-Fi Willie. Subscribe for more content from me. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.